Hey, first grade, and happy Wednesday. Hey, first grade, happy Wednesday. Today we are going to hear a comprehension text. So far this week, we have been talking about what we see in the sky, and we've heard two fantasy stories, right? We first read about Fern the bird, who was thinking that all the clouds were real objects. And then we read about the kitten who thought that the moon was a bowl of milk. So today we're going to read a different text, and this is going to be a non-fiction text called The Moon. So if we think about non-fiction, that means this is going to be true information. We're going to read facts and we're going to learn something. So we're going to read about something you see in the nighttime sky. All right, before we start, close your eyes and think about what you know about the moon. Tell me. All right, let's see what else we can learn. Think of what you see in the night sky. You see stars and the moon. The moon is the neighbor closest to Earth in space, but it is very far away. The moon is about 239,000 miles from Earth. On some nights, the moon looks bright and round. Think about our shapes. It looks like a circle, right? But it does not make its own light. Light bounces from the sun and shines on the moon. The light bounces back to Earth. We only see the lighted part of the moon that faces the Earth. So this was a lot of information. Let's think about this for a minute. So in our sky, we have planet Earth, which is where we live, and the moon is the closest thing to us, but it's not really close. It's very far away. We couldn't drive there in a car. We couldn't even drive there in an airplane. And when the moon looks really bright, we may think that it is shining, but what's really happening is the moon doesn't make its own light. It's not like a light bulb. So what happens is the sun shines on the moon and that light goes boop and reflects to Earth. So the light that we see really isn't the moon's light. It's the sun's light being reflected, just like the moon was reflecting in the pond that Kitten was looking at. Now, sometimes in the sky, the moon looks like this, right? Like a circle. Well, that's because we see it from far away. The moon is really a sphere, which is round like a ball. But when we see it, we only see one part of it. And sometimes it looks like a circle. But sometimes the moon looks different, right? The moon looks much smaller than it really is because it's so far away. All right, now here's some different ways that we may see the moon. Sometimes we don't see anything, and then it grows and grows until we have what we call a full moon, right, when we see it. The moon looks different every day of the month. Why doesn't the moon look round every night? The moon moves in a circle around the Earth. As it circles, part of the moon faces the sun. So if this is Earth, and this is where we live, the moon goes like this and circles around it. So at different parts of the month, we only see part of the moon. The sun's still shining on it. We just don't see it all the time. So the moon doesn't really shrink and it doesn't really change shape. It's just what we see. We see the part of the moon that is lighted by the sun. That's why the moon seems to change shape. People once thought the moon was made of cheese, and Kitten thought it was a bowl of milk. They saw the face of a man in the moon. Do you really think there's a man in the moon? No. Then telescopes, remember we talked about those, telescopes helped us see the moon better. The telescopes showed hills and flat places. They showed craters or big holes too. We can see the moon better with a telescope. And here's a boy and his father out at night looking at the moon. Then in 1961, astronauts, and we know those are men or women whose job it is to study the Earth and the space and the stars and the planets, and sometimes they travel to other places, went into space. In 1969, other astronauts walked on the moon. They got a real close-up look. Nothing grows on the moon. It's very rocky. Astronauts brought back moon rocks for us to see. Maybe one day you will go to the moon too. Astronauts went onto space and landed on the moon. All right, so I have another challenge for you. I am going to post some videos in our playlist that talk about how or why the moon looks like it changes, right? It doesn't really change. It just changes where it is and what we see, to help you understand it a little bit better, because it is a very tough concept to try to understand. But your challenge is, I'm going to also link a moon journal, and if your parents can print it out, that's good. If not, you could just write on anything. If you pick a spot, either outside at your house or maybe like a nearby park that you're allowed to go to where you can see the sky, you need to go to the same spot every night and the same time every night, and go and look at the sky and see where the moon is and what it looks like. And you're going to notice a couple things. One, the moon is going to change where it is in the sky. And two, the moon is going to change what it looks like. You'll see all of these different, they're called phases of the moon, and you can kind of write them down what you observe. Now, if it's raining or if it's very cloudy, you may not be able to see the moon every night, but a lot of nights you will. All right, boys and girls, happy Wednesday.